Hey guys, I'm Stray, and thanks for joining me for part 4 of my new player guide series for Worlds Adrift. So in this part I'm going to be talking you through building your first Windwall capable ship. In the last part I covered building your first vessel in general, your first sailing vessel to sail around the biome that you started in. And in the first couple of parts I covered basic stuff such as character movement, inventory management, that kind of thing. So uh, we're going to go ahead and start our first Windwall capable ship here. You you don't want to be worrying too much about building anything particularly advanced for the Windwall. You'll need a certain amount of power to punch through on the engines, and a couple of wings for stability. But I'll cover that as we proceed here. So first of all, I want to start with my frame. I'm going to be using exactly the same frame as last time, which is a modified dinghy frame. Really don't need anything bigger than that to cross the Windwall. So I'm going to go ahead here and craft this. I've already got it loaded up. I'm going to use wood for the decking to save on weight because I want some some free some spare weight for engines and wings. So go ahead and get that crafting, and that'll take 30 seconds, a minute. The bigger the ship, the longer it takes to craft, but that's not going to take too long. I'm going to go over here and start preparing the components here. So I've got a few tier 1 engines. I'm actually all the way up to tier 4 now. Don't worry about those. This is purely aimed at people just starting out. So you might have only just got your first engine. You might have literally one engine in the engine drop down. Tier 1, which is like the white name. So we're going to be focusing here on power. Now power is important for crossing the Windwall. As you can see, I've got a couple of lower power engines. I've got a 15 power engine, a 12 power engine. Don't want those. My choices really are 21 power, 20 fuel efficiency, or 22 power, 10 fuel efficiency, but higher spin up. I'm going to go for the 21 power, even though it's one less power, so I'm going to make that big of a difference. Actually, is it cheaper? No, I'm going to go for the 22 power because it's cheaper to craft, and I don't have a great deal of materials. I'm probably going to have to run off in a sec, stop recording, and go find some more materials. I have already done a couple of rounds of the island, and I'm just going to use iron because, again, later on in the game, you're going to start wanting to focus on, what you build your components out of. But at this early stage, it really doesn't matter. It's going to be whatever you've got available. These starter islands, you don't know what you're going to find, so you don't really have the luxury of being able to pick and choose your resources. I'm going to go for about 3 of these engines. Perhaps. We'll see. Alright, so there's engine 1. I'll go over here and scan it with the forge scanner. And as you can see, after material boosts, the power is up to 26. That's for using iron for the internals, etc. So that's not too bad. 26 power is pretty good. So yeah, I'm going to go with 3 of these, which will take me up to, what would that be, 78 total power, I believe. I do recommend a minimum for the Windwall of a minimum total power rating of 75. Now, I know people have made it through with less than that. Not saying it's not possible, but for your own peace of mind, and especially with the server slowdown the game's currently experiencing a lot of and stuff, you're going to hit that Windwall and it's going to feel for a time like you're not moving. Having that little bit extra power, you're just going to punch through a little bit quicker. And know that you can do so. So I would aim for a total power output of around 75 or more, weight allowing. So yeah, obviously if you've got you've only got one engine and you've drew the short straw and got something like this with only 12 power, you can always try and get more on. Bearing in mind you only have 1,000 kilogram weight limit for a starter ship with the basic core. But yeah, ultimately I would recommend a minimum of 75 total power. If that means you need 4 or 5 engines, yeah, you might have to go with slightly less than 75, obviously. But if you can, try and hit that number, I would recommend. Finish crafting my engines here. So yeah, I've gone, you know, same materials across the board. If you do mix and match materials, you know, when you have an engine on one side of the ship built out of different materials than on the other side, and it to the point where it's a drastic difference in terms of stats, then you may feel that the ship actually may pull to one side. For example, you know, if I built one engine out of really low quality metal and you know, put it on this side, and then I build the other one out of endgame metal, and the stat difference is like 15 or more, you're probably going to pull to one side because of it. But you know, again, not something you really need to worry about early game, and you can always compensate with steering, even if you are drawing the short straw with resources on your island and you're having to use different types of metal for the engines. As long as the stat difference isn't too great, you should be fine. And even if it does pull to one side, as I say, you can compensate with steering. So yeah, there are my engines. You know, I've got 3 lovely engines on there. They are going to get me through the Windwall, no problem. So next, we're going to look at wings. So I have 3 tier 1 wings here, and not much more actually, because I haven't proceeded far through the or at all through the wing knowledge tree yet. But yeah, I've got a wing with resilience 18, power 9, 16 pivot, a wing with 14 resilience, 21 power, 9 pivot, and a wing with 11 resilience, 17 power, 15 pivot speed. Now, honestly, for Windwall, doesn't really matter. Go for cheap wings, slap a couple on. Resilience doesn't matter because they're not going to take damage, though they will in the Stormwall and Sandwall, which we'll come to in future videos. But yeah, for now, for the Windwall, whatever. Cheap wings, cheap and cheerful. I'm going to go for these. I am going to need some more wood. So I'm going to pause recording whilst I go gather some more mats. This island has been pretty barren, so you know, I've had some trouble finding what I need. But yeah, I will resume recording momentarily. Alright, so I now have enough materials to finish this build, which I probably should have done originally, but like I say, this island's been a little bit, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create the sky core next. Now it really doesn't matter too much what you build this out of. Probably want to be focusing on weight more than anything, but it doesn't matter. There's no stats really other than resilience. But in future, Bossa have said that there will probably be more stats associated with the sky core, such as ascent and descent rate. So do bear that in mind in the future. But right now, you know, probably something light or that increases. I don't even think the resilience actually changes on the sky core. To be fair, 75 doesn't look like it changes at all. But yeah, probably something just, you know, light. Just like the frame. You know, again, frames can't be damaged right now, so there's no point making it out of a metal that would increase its resilience or whatever. But again, that is subject to change in the future, so do bear that in mind. And I'll probably have to re-record these vids a 3rd time once all these stat changes are in. I did do a player guide series for Alpha, which, you know, is now kind of outdated. Some of the stuff still applies. By all means, check that out if you like. But yeah, that's why I'm recording a new player guide series for beta, because so much has actually changed in the past couple of months. So yeah, you're only gonna, again, I've got some of the upgrades for the sky core, but as a beginner, you're just gonna have the basic Atlas sky core. Don't need to worry about anything else there. So that's that. I'm going to, where is it? I need a power generator. So I'm gonna craft the casing out of wood, and then the piping out of iron. And it's called a power generator. It's your fuel tank, basically. It's a fuel tank. You can stack them so you can have, like, you know, each fuel tank gives you 100 fuel that you can load into the engines at any one time, so you can go longer without having to stop and refuel. So one tank is 100 fuel, 2 tanks 200, 3 tanks 300, so on and so forth. But eventually, obviously, you know, they do weigh a fair bit as well, so you need to bear that in mind. Let me check my weight now. I'm 500 and just shy of 600 kilograms. So it is getting a little bit heavy now. I haven't even done my wings. So I'll have to watch my weight from here on out. So I'm going for the cheapest wings. What is their weight going to be? So I'm looking at 47 kilograms each. I only need 2, which is fine. Make sure the ailerons, the flaps are at the back. I can't actually think that's the right way. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, make sure they're at the back. Craft second one. Now rudder wings work. You can have a vertically mounted wing and it will act as a rudder if you have it on the frame somewhere. Like so. If I was to mount that, that would act as a rudder. And what a rudder wing will do is actually help with your turn rate. But for the purpose of the sandwall, I'm not going to bother. I'm not interested in that. You know, I'll cover that in future vids when I build a more advanced ship to take on the storm wall, etc. The idea behind this ship here is it's going to be very basic, and its purpose is purely to get me through the wind wall. I don't need to worry too much about more advanced stuff like rudders and whatever else. I'm going to go with a single sail, just in case my engines fail me or I run out of fuel on the other side. At least I can sort of hobble to an island. I'm not going to end up stranded. Plus they're useful for getting past mantas, which are attracted to noise. And speaking of mantas, we've got this bugged out swarm here that's got stuck on an FSIM border, a world border, and starved to death, which is a known bug. So you're going to see that a lot, unfortunately, but it will be sorted in the future. So there's my sail, and that basically leaves helm and personal reviver. So I'll go with my personal reviver here. I'm just going to craft it out of bronze here. You can obviously, you can put storage on if you want to. I probably will actually, just so I can take spare stuff with me. Not that it matters, because I'll be getting a pickup later on anyway by my crew. I'm at 708, just under 800 kilograms. So I'm sort of approaching that 1,000 kilogram limit right now. Got to be careful of that, and be aware of it. So I'm not going to be bothering with any paneling or anything fancy like that. Flight instruments you won't have access to as a beginner. You get them later on. No cannons, again, you don't want to be worrying about that if your purpose is just to get through the wind wall. So helm. And we'll finish it off with helm. And I'm going to go with a wooden helm. Again, the wind wall doesn't cause damage, so not too fussed about that. And that's pretty much it. I'm at 837 kilograms, so I'm quite a ways below that 1,000 kilogram limit. Got a little bit of room to play with. I'm going to throw some storage on here. Wonder how much that? 87. I mean, I could probably get a shipping container on there, but no. We'll go with a storage container here. Shouldn't need much more than that. Now, if if there's more than one of you, you're going to have to accommodate for more respawn discs weight-wise. Do bear that in mind. So you might have to pick, if there's enough of you, you might actually have to pick and choose between crew respawners and storage. But there's nothing in the game that's not expendable, really. You can always get more mats on the other side. It's not a big deal. I mean, I've got crap like berries and campfire on me that I'm not bothered about keeping, but I've put my metals and stuff in here. I actually need to refuel before I dump what's left of the fuel in there. So I'm going to refuel here. And yeah, that is pretty much my Windwall ship. So I'm gonna stop recording briefly while I head on over to the Windwall, and then I'll resume recording once I'm there, and you'll see me go through the wall. Okay, so I am now approaching the Windwall here. You can actually see down below, just as I've got near, you can see a couple of failed attempts down there. So yeah, let's see how I fare. I've actually cheated a little bit. I've gone ahead and built a bar pipe and a fuel gauge. You might not have access to these. Well, you won't have access to the gauge if you're in the wilderness. It's more just so I can keep an eye on my fuel and make sure that if I get hit by the slowdown bug in the middle of the wall and I'm barely moving, I'm gonna have to worry about my fuel, you know. So yeah, it's a little bit of a cheat. It's been a bit cheeky. Using higher tier stuff when this guide's aimed at newbies, but yeah, don't worry about it too much. Should be fine. So you know, you don't really need the fuel gauge doesn't really help you push through. It's just for me to keep an eye on that. So yeah, you want to start as high as you possibly can. I'm about at the ceiling height here. I am pretty damn high. So roughly the height of the wall should be fine. Keep an eye on that fuel. It's dropped down to 70. I've got the fuel on my belt, which is probably a good idea, just in case the Windwall will toss you around a little bit. So, and we're heading in now. We're in that top layer of fog right now. And yeah, can get a little bit disorientating, but use the if you use the ribbon here on the helm, use the ribbon as like a makeshift compass. Keep an eye on that. It will blow around a lot in the Windwall, but yeah. And you can always use the islands that are behind you as a guide as well. You are going to get tossed around a little bit. Bear that in mind. But if you've built your ship to a similar spec as this, you should be fine. There we go. So as you can see, already forcing my nose down. I'm having to fight that, push back against that. It's always fun. Full throttle. You know, if your nose does get forced down like that, I mean, that was quite an extreme one actually. But I pull back on the yoke, fight against it. If your entire ship starts getting forced down a lot, then hold spacebar or shift to fight against that, to resist it. But yeah, you should be good. And again, as you can see, you know, it is forcing my nose down a lot. But I've started high. I can afford to lose a little bit of altitude. You now see that we're pushing through. You can see the islands on the other side now. We're in the thick of it. We're maybe just under halfway through right now. It's a little bit disorientating. It's gonna, first time you take this on, it's gonna be like, whoa, shit, you know, am I doing this right, or is this meant to happen? Perfectly normal. You know, these are light ships. If you come back through later on after you've built a much heavier ship, you'll find that you cut through wind walls like butter. It's nothing. But in a small light ship like this, it is going to toss you around a little bit. It's designed to do that. Don't get too concerned. As you can see, I'm losing some altitude, sort of forcing against that now, fighting back against that with the space bar held. Try and get some altitude back, keeping the yoke pulled down. I'm turning to try and get myself back on course because it's pushing me to the left slightly. But again, just use the islands on the other side as a guide. Once you've got them in sight, keep them in sight, and you'll be good. And we're pretty much through at this point. I have lost quite a lot of altitude, but again, you can see I'm not even below the lowest islands, not by a stretch. So I've got plenty to spare. If you start getting to the point where you're below the lowest islands, then you can start worrying a little bit. But at this point, I'm nearly through. I'm just fighting against that. It's trying to turn me a little bit, as you can see. Sort of pushing me around and whatever else. I have got music disabled for the purpose of when I'm streaming and making videos, but you will hear some pretty cool music. I've enabled it now for you. You can hear the music, and you'll know when you're through. The music will cut, the music will stop, and obviously you'll stop getting tossed around as well. So that's a clear sign that you're through. And we nearly are. We're nearly breaking free of it now. Again, if you get hit by the server slowdown bug, you're going to be in there longer than you should be, which sucks, but there's not really much you can do about that right now. Oh dear, I've locked up. Never good locking up in these situations either. You can see more failed attempts down there where people have sadly lost their ships. But yeah, very nearly through. You can see it's booking me up and down. I'm going to level us out. And a little bit of server lag. But yeah, through. That's that. I'm free of the wall. Kind of spat me out at the end there. Got a little bit rough. And but yeah, there you go. It is going to book you around like that. It's perfectly normal. Don't worry about it. Just keep pushing. At times it might feel like you're not even breaking through. As you can see, I was in there a little while. Couple of minutes at least, and if you get hit with a server slowdown bug, you might even be in there longer than that. But just keep pushing through, keep your engines full throttle. You know, use the yoke to pull your nose up with the mouse. Use ascend with the core there, as you can see on the left of the helm, as you're using shift or space and control to ascend and descend. So if you start getting forced down a lot, you know, fight against that. I made it through, but I am out of fuel, so go ahead and refuel. And yeah, that's that. I hope you've enjoyed the guide. I hope it's been useful, and best of luck on your own Windwall crossings. Parts 5 and 6 will be out over the weekend for this player guide series, and I will be focusing on showing you how to build a Stormwall and Sandwall capable vessel, respectively. So again, thanks a lot for watching. I hope this has been helpful, and I hope you're enjoying the guides. If you've got any feedback, please do let me know in the comments, or if you've got any questions as well. Thanks a lot, guys, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye for now.